Mic check, mic check. Alright, cool. You can hear me. So, fun fact, I think maybe this concussion's getting to me because I have forgot to switch off the kill switch to my microphone and camera. Yeah. Yeah, so we're not the brightest here, honestly, by any stretch of the imagination. So, let me get to the gist. Real clean and simple stuff. What I've been doing this day two of having a concussion. It fucking sucks. But where am I now? Alright. So I called out my friend in the last video for having strange files on his desktop that he sent to me that are really disproportionate. But here they are. I've finished it for you. It only took me up. Came in half. Gotta super glue that one, bud. I don't know what to tell you. But, yeah. So, figurines finished for you, bud. I double checked, and yes, it very much is weird. I'll make sure to tell you that when I meet you. As you notice, they don't got the foxtail yet. That's because you sent me two different versions. Apparently, there's a nine-tail and then a regular one. Right now, the regular one is being created for you. The nine-tail one, fuck you. I'm gonna make you pay me $30 for that one because that is a whole entire roll of filament and then 3 days worth of printing. Okay? That one, that tail itself, that takes 12 hours, half a day. Do you know how much it costs to do all this? Only like 10 to 9 hours at the most. And then you drop that one on me, and then when I message you this, I'm like, hey, it's almost done. You're like, did you get the nine-tail version? Fuck yeah. Like, God, how big does it have to be? Because it is the size of the printer itself. It is enormous. God, but anyway, so I talked to you last time about the magazine thing. I went out, I sketched up, so I was just sitting here in my room with a nice little red work light working on it, and I basically just grabbed my calipers, mic'd a good portion of this, and then I quickly hopped on to my CAD system of choice, which happened to be, what was it? It was Fusion 360. I didn't use Blender this time. I used to use Blender until I got a student license, so now I use Fusion 360. Let me tell you, easiest CAD software ever out there. If you want to save a headache, just use it. I checked. They don't data log what computer it is, so they do respect your privacy to an extent. I have yet to look at what they send in the packages when you run into an error eventually. But I will get to that. I know source of code on my computer is going to be safe from a review. And yeah. But besides that, measured this, created the CAD file. I then, like a kid on Christmas, excitedly went and grabbed my gun. Right here. It is clear. I'll even do you one better, right? No magazine, you can see the hole, and then bam, you can see into that barrel. So everything's clear of obstructions, no bullet in there. So of course we're safe. And another way, rack it 3 times. So I grabbed my magazine, and it's like, let's see if it works. And then I do that as hard as I can. Why? Because that's what you want when you test out a magazine. It instantly broke. It shattered the walls. So now it's like, instead of being nice and straight, it collapsed in like a V. The feed lips, as soon as they reached the top of it, broke off to some part of the slide. Strangely enough, the only part of the magazine that worked was the magazine safety, which is something I didn't really want to work because I hate the magazine safety. So yeah, alpha version of the 3D printable magazine for the MRD 57 is officially a failure. But the failures don't define us; it's what the successes do. So so the guy I printed this out of was officially, PLA, and I think I had a shell thickness of 2 millimeters. So not that quite big, but I think it's pretty sizable. So I went online. I bought a new version of PLA Plus. That means it is better apparently. And for some reason they decided to charge an arm and a leg for it. It's also, yeah. So hopefully with that it's more rigid and more flexible. So should be able to stand up to the abuse. Another problem I think I'm going to have is these feed lips right up here where they hold the rounds in. Is the spring tension from the bottom feeding up, they're going to break off or at least deform significantly enough to where it'll be a malfunctioning magazine. That is not what I want. So if I can make it work in the 20 rounder, of course we got to go up. And we got to do a 30 round magazine, which is going to of course have more tension with the spring. So you're going to suffer that. And interesting thing about that is, think here for a second, is that 30 round magazines I have, they're actually for the 5.7 Mark II. So that means that the bottom of this pistol is completely shaped different than the bottom of the Mark II. So they're not sitting flush with each other. In fact, these little corners here bite into the 30 round magazine. That is not good. So I'm going to, measure that out, and then somewhere past the bottom of this base plate, I'm just going to copy that up and then extend it, extrude the surface, so hopefully it works. I think it'll be fairly simple. I just got to account for all that rack and toss on the bottom, and then of course the spring tension, which should be fairly easy to work with, I think. The real estate inside the magazine hasn't really changed all that much from what I noticed through the printer variations of about, I think the tolerance is like 0.1 millimeters. I can't talk today. But, yes. Second project. The lower receiver. This is made out of polymer. Pretty common. I think the only things that are not made out of polymer is the black parts, which is the slide release, the magazine catch, the trigger itself, safety, and then the takedown. I think those are made out of something that's kind of a different plastic. I don't really know. They do feel a little bit more sturdy, but maybe that's due to the fact that they're not a flimsy wall when I'm holding it as compared to that. But anyway, that doesn't really matter since you can buy those online in a pretty cheap, like $20 bag, and they'll send it to your door. But like I said, my version is going to have a shortened end of the receiver, and I'm going to create that little trigger guard and shorten it just a bit so it's a little bit nicer to hold. And then I had some other ideas. Is that this right here? So when you want to fire a gun, the recoil impulse is going to travel along the barrel. So on here, it's going to travel along, and my wrist is right here. So it's going to force my hand upwards. If I were to create it so that maybe this is a little bit shorter, the recoil impulse will be more along the form of my hand instead of at the bottom, at the base. So it wouldn't rotate my wrist as much. I think that's something I'm going to look into. I'm sure that FN, tried their best to mitigate that circumstance, but maybe they compromised a little bit to make it look nice. And of course, I'm more for a design over a looking kind of guy. My taste in a lot of things can comprehend that. So that's project for the 5.7, basically 3D printing. So I got those on order along with a whole entire spool of filament. I bought an extra one. So if you want me to create a nine-tail, just cash me $30 and I'll make it for you. The rest of this is free of charge for your knowledge. But the whole entire spool of material is a little too much. But anyway, my third project, so it's this guy, the PSL 54. I've been talking about it a little bit online. I was part of a group for a bit that we were trying to create. So we successfully created a dust cover file for the dust cover right here. It's pretty simple, not too crazy. There's not a lot happening on there. All you're doing is holding in that recoil spring there. Then for a bit, we tried to create one for our rear receiver. I guess you call it lower receiver on the AK, maybe. A little different than the AR because it's just one receiver and then the bolt moves in it. AR has two, the upper and lower, but yeah, so we tried to create a plastic receiver. No success. I went back into the group chat and I think they abandoned the project also. The last message was 3 months ago, basically asking, hey, are we still doing this? And then it was silence. So, yes, I will go back into looking into that. I think it can be done. It's just going to have some compromises to where we are going to have to create metal inserts. So, like, get some stainless steel plates and cut them up to the appropriate sizes, and then you put it in. So, when the bolt's sliding on the rails, that should be a metal insert you can do from the back here, and then you can slide a cover in. Thinking about that, that seems reasonable, and then the plates for the rivets. Of course, we knew that was always going to be a compromise in the design for the rivets, but I think I can do it. It's going to take a lot, though. And apparently the whole entire thinking thing is really hurting me right now. So I gotta take intermittent breaks. Try to minimize the thoughts as much as possible. So, but that's not that, neither here nor there, because that is probably one of the last things I'm gonna try to do. This. Take a guess what this is. Yeah, you guessed right. It's a PSL 54 magazine for my knockoff Dragunov, Romanian Dragunov. Now, here's the fun question. Take a guess how much these are worth. Can't? Okay, here's some context. This is worth $30. Right? Now, the 30 round version of those is worth an atrocious $60. This only holds 10 rounds of 7.62 by 54R. Now, your final guess. Give it your final guess in 3, 2, 1. And you're probably wrong. Because this is $120 fucking dollars. And I found that out when I tried to buy more of them. Yeah. Needless to say, I'm not going to be paying that price. We work around these solutions. We just don't throw money at it. So, unfortunately, my pride got the better of me. So, I also chopped that one up to the project list. People already made AK-47 magazines and AR-15 magazines. I have yet to find a 7.62 by 54R magazine, and even if I do, I don't think it would exactly be. They were more like stripper clips for the Mosin and the Gaunt. They are not going to be magazines for the Dragunov or its Romanian equivalent. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to try to design them. Now the hardest part of that design project is how the fuck do I get those springs, those magazine springs? They are probably so specific. How do I guess I'm going to have to special order them. I imagine it will only be like $20. which, I mean, better than sunk in 120 into the magazine. Um, I'm not the first person to have this idea. Somebody online also has one. I sent an email to him to get in contact, but that forum post was like 2 months ago. So I don't know. Hope you talk to me, dude. I would love to work on this with you. But yeah, there also is a company that make versions of these that is polymer, and they are very generous and only charge us $80. So still a shit ton more money than I'm willing to spend on a magazine. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to upend that market because if you buy 5 of these, at the prices that polymethane one is asking, you can buy a 3D printer, 2 rolls of filament, and then you can make 100 of them, right? So, and then you can use the 3D printer for other things too. So, think we're a little bit of an impasse here. So we're going to try to create a cost-effective solution, almost. So that's where I'm at with that. What else have I been doing? So what did I talk about? I talked about that magazine, lower receivers for both of them, and then magazine for the 5.7. Yes, I was gonna talk about my car. So I sat in the dark in the garage for a bit, just thinking about ideas I can give to my car. The best collection I have right now, I wrote it down on a list somewhere, but I'm reciting it from memory, so I'm probably gonna forget some parts. I'm gonna. This is gonna be crazy. I'm gonna probably drill into my drive shaft and then place a magnet in it, or at least I guess I don't really gotta drill into it. I can just glue or weld a magnet to the end of it, and then have a magnet sitting on my frame. And then it's going to be electromagnet, so it can hold up there, and I'll have a magnet down here, and it'll turn. And while that magnet's turning on the drive shaft, I can count the amount of revolutions by how many times it trips up the top magnet. Some design flaws I see in the system. Well, what happens if I leave the car perfectly so the magnets are touching each other? I think I'll be fine because I'll turn off the electricity when I hopefully turn off the car. But in case I don't, we'll have a dead battery. So, yeah. I've been thinking I can drill a hole, right? So I got a transmission funnel, right? That's where my center console is for my shifter. I can drill a hole in there, run a wire underneath the carpet, and then into my dash fairly simply. So I think I got an idea there. And what that would help me is tell me how fast I am going. What do I mean by that? Well, here's the crazy thing is that yes, you can measure how fast you're going, but is that really telling you how much your drive shaft is spinning? Because you can change gears and vary on it, and already got a speedometer in the transmission itself. What that is doing, that is measuring the restraint and then taking into account the final drive. Now, I don't think it accounts for skipping as if you were doing a burnout. So, I have a pretty great idea. If I could take the data variables of the spinning transmission and then the speedometer, and then I can compare the two, hopefully I can give me pretty interesting results of whether I am hooking or not. Whether if I can feel my tires spinning. I'm terrible at it. So, that is an idea. Sorry for that, Bodger. Yeah. So, I have asked somebody to go out, and they got me an Arduino board. I think with a little bit of soldering and some ingenuity, hopefully, I can take multiple data variables. So, of course, I told you about the drive shaft. And then I can take my fuel pressure, gonna get a 3/8 hose, bend it back, and then somewhere in there, cut a line that can tell me the flow rate. Oil pressure, I already have that installed in the engine. It just needs to be turned from a light that is on or off, depending on how much oil is being flown. and also need to work on my temperature. Right now, that is cut off. I'm pretty sure I can find another violin and then hook it up to my dash, and then also the data logging Arduino. I could probably put a 16 gigabyte USB drive, right? It just needs to be into a file where it records the data as it goes along and makes a nice little graph. Um, Probably can file at least a day's worth of driving around, pretty sure. And then, of course, I can just buy a hard disk if I really want to store it. Um, I don't know, I just think it would be cool to keep with my car. I can do test and tune it on the streets in the desert around here. Hey, how can I help you? Okay, sorry, he's being a little weird. Yeah, so I think I can create a data logging system for my Dart pretty easily. And so that's definitely going to be one of the projects. I am also looking at making it faster. I know. She needs to be faster. She's right now a 14-second card. But I've been looking online and I found some Edelbrock Performer heads for quite a cheap price, a high-rise intake, and some studs. And I think I can make her pick up a whole entire second and a half. Which, I mean, if you're new to the drag race world, it's quite a significant amount of, get up and go. A very easy way to do this, it's just gonna cost me $4,000. Yes. I'm probably gonna financially destabilize myself for this car. But God, it'll be so worth it to have a slightly faster car that I could probably not drive for probably the next 2 or 3 weeks. We're making smart decisions around here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this concussion's got me thinking a little weirdly. Um, considering that was the subject of my last meeting, you may be thinking, how's that going for you? Well, if I think too hard about something, it starts to hurt a lot. So, all this research, basically, I got a whole entire month freed up. So, I've just been doing this for a bit. Yeah, I'm just trying to minimize the amount of time I'm looking at screens. Right now, I can't even see myself, barely see myself, at 5% opacity or whatever. And, yeah, just gonna do my best, I guess. Live it one day at a time. Head hurts a bit. I was able to walk outside today and stay out there for a significant amount of time. So that's good news. So that means the effects are not permanent, which is wonderful. Hopefully this part's permanent of me just randomly getting up and going and starting to do nonsensical research into things that I find perplexing. So, yeah. It's been doing alright. There is, some other things I gotta work on. Like, I gotta figure out the layer height on that issue. I mean, my friend helped me a lot. But, for some reason, I cannot get it lower than 0.01. No, sorry, 0.10. I got that mixed up. So, I gotta fix that. I'm sure there's something I'm missing that's obvious. Maybe it's a nozzle. Who knows? But, yeah. Just lots of stuff going on. Another thing. I think I already mentioned this, but I gotta make some quick feed ramps and whatnot. But, yeah. I'm gonna sign it off for today. Tomorrow looks good. Promising. Can't wait to get back to work on Monday. Yeah. Look at the bright lights all the time, and probably gonna be super awkward with my boss when I start handing him the order forms and ask him to jump off with it. Catch you all later.